Hi, I'm Dave from Amore Style Tarot. Today I want to talk about arches that you find on the tarot cards and what do they mean and how you might be able to use those. So when it comes around to an arch, what is an arch? The definition would be that basically it's a symmetrical structure that comes together at a point where it has a keystone in the top that holds both sides of this support together. And so you can look at classic images, search through Google and find arches, find all kinds of bridges. Medieval bridges were built using stones stacked into an arch, or you'll find churches that still have the architecture to it, or you'll find other buildings where they have columns and they have the arch on top of it. And so basically this is a structure that when built properly, the angle aligns perfectly so that the forces, when the force of the capstone is pushing down to it, it pushes the force along the actual arc of the arch in order to carry the weight. For the arch, when there's material packed behind it, if you go rounder with the arch and make it round, that energy is going to want to push the stone up, and so you pile something up. So between two arches, you pile it in, and you get that extra support. So these tend to be able to create a roof over something where you can have a river flow through, or you can have a steep valley where you can find bedrock on either side to create an arch, to create a roadway over the top. So the idea with the arch is that it's relatively easy to do. It's simply a matter of cutting or finding the right stones, mortaring them together the right way in order to create that arch that will stand for a long time. There are bridges that have been around for over 1,000 years that are built with that architecture. There are buildings that are still standing. There's churches throughout Europe that still have that architecture to the top of them. It's still there, created a long time ago. It's basically following a natural law. But when you look into nature and go looking to see if there are arches in nature, you don't really find them. There's no animals that create arch structures. There's no plants that really do that. There's rock formations that you can find in the deserts that are standing because they were washed away or modified. But there's really nothing that appears naturally that takes on an arch shape. Unless, of course, you know, let me know, comment on this video. But with that in mind, an arc, when you create something using this technique, it has to be engineered. And so this is generally something that humans do. It's not something that happens naturally. It's not just something you stumble across. You have to intentionally do this. You have to put thought into it. You have to engineer it. You have to put the work into it. You have to stack every stone. There is a process that you go through to create that structure, whatever it is. But the beautiful thing about it is that once you've created the structure, it lasts forever. It can last a long time. If it's a bridge and you create the structure in the middle of a river, as long as you create an embankment around it so that anything coming down the stream will not wash it away, it'll continue to stand there for seemingly forever. Earthquakes sure can knock it down, but if you create this in a way, even modern engineering today will use steel to do the same thing, to be able to create bridges with a long span, a big arc across it, and have cables coming down to hold the surface up. But it's still the arc that they're able to naturally carry all that weight. So when we look at it from the cards perspective, why would it show up on the cards? It would show up on the cards because it's not something that happens in nature. Man has to create that. Man puts that together. It is something that has to be engineered. It has to be put together at the right angle. You have to have finesse. You have to balance the situation. You have to put the effort in. But once you put the effort in and you've created it, if you created a bridge over a canyon, everybody's going to be able to use that bridge. It can be open to every single person that's moving from one city to another. They're able to use that bridge. It becomes something that makes the life easier for everybody that use it. Or another way of doing this would be to use a very little material to be able to create waterways, where you can create a very gentle slope and put water in that particular elevated platform. In which case, you can bring water to a city through hilly terrain. In any case, we want to look at the most important card that we find it in, which would be the 10 of coins, the 10 of pentacles. On this particular card, we'll almost always find an arch, or you'll find that structure made out of stone, because it's going to show that, as we already know about this particular card, this card is about your legacy. It's about your wealth. It's about creating your whatever it is you created in life that takes care of you as you get older. So it leads into retirement. So this represents that work that you've put into it. You have consciously put work into creating your structures that take care of you in your retirement. It is a demonstration of your art. So if you were off as a doctor and you created a business and then you created a franchise, that franchise is taking care of you as you're in your old age. And and this is something that it's going to uniquely point out that it was made by man. You created it. This picture shows you that it is done and functioning. Quite often, you'll find the image of an arch on the 3 of coins. The classic cards is going to show somebody working, standing on a bench, and overhead there's an arch. So it's just kind of out of reach. It's something that they would reach for. So here it's showing us that when we come to that 3rd card and we are at a initial completion, that 3rd card is showing us where we want to go towards that 10. It's showing us that if we can think of what we need to do, we can conceptualize it. We can hold that image of that structure of where we want to be able to get to. If we can bring that into the current moment, then as we go through the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're going to work our way to that 10 as we increase our skills, as we practice our craft, as we generate the wealth from that idea. So on my card, I left out that arc, but I'll probably find a way to put it back in because I still haven't gone to full print with it. So with the concept of this, I also placed it on the Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man, if you look at the definitions that I have, go to my card page on my website, you'll see that this particular card is the social card. It is about sacrificing, making your own sacrifices to benefit those around you. And so this particular structure fits in very well with this. This is something that you have to intentionally do. You have to put the work into it. And then when you do, you've created something that lasts generations. You can go work on something for a year, but it can live 1,000 years. This is what that bridge, that's what the brick structure is going to represent. So you can create a bridge that everybody can use for the next 1,000 years. You can create a waterway that can basically fertilize thousands of acres of land with a little bit of work in a short period of time to be able to create that. So this is a way to enhance your civilization, to enhance your environment, to be able to pass on something. One generation can work on something, but it can stay there for multiple generations. Thus, it's showing up on my card. You'll also find that the 4 of Swords. The 4 of Swords card, this particular one, generally you'll see this, you'll see the person laying in a comatose type of position. I see this a little bit more as controlling the thoughts. It is getting control of the thoughts in the mind. It is the meditation card. This is a card where the arc in that is going to show that we have to get our thoughts in order. We have to create the structure in our thoughts. We have to follow the ritual. And in this particular case, I kind of put it in a cathedral. And the cathedrals quite often have arches in them to hold up the ceiling. And so my card has that emblem throughout in the back. And it becomes the gateway to the spiritual realm. So here it is. I put it on that card to think about the fact that we are in control of our own thoughts. We need to create structure in our thoughts. Our thoughts are going to help us create our legacy eventually as we take care of them today on a daily basis. Another card that you'll happen to find the arches on is on the Justice card. The Justice card, there's a combination. So you want to look at my video about columns, but this is over the top of the columns. So the idea here, the columns creating the structure in the arch is going to create the fact that this card's about truth. It's about holding the truth, honoring the truth, and it is about finding justice. So the institution of justice is built upon truth. That truth is a fundamental concept, and the arch is there to show us that it withstands the test of time. This concept will be there forever. As long as there's humans that build a society, that concept of trust needs to be there. That trust needs to happen in relationships. That trust needs to happen in business deals. That trust needs to happen. Okay, so the arch is there to help represent that. So throughout the cards, when we draw these cards, or draw if you are drawn to, or if you're the person you're reading to is drawn to that particular item, and they ask you why, chances are you're going to be talking about something where you have to plan for the future. You have to look ahead. You have to bring your thoughts together. You have to consciously place your effort into something in order to build it, in order to get to the end result. You have to complete the process. So in the Pentacles, you have to go through honing your own skills, creating your own stuff to be able to get to the point where your business is running. The things that you create are done in a masterful way. And so here, I wanted to share that with you. And if you have any questions about any other symbols you find on my cards, feel free to ask about it. If you like this video, I would love your support. The easiest way to do that is to click on the like button or subscribe to this channel. Another option would be to share this video with a friend. Let people know that I have this channel. Another way that you can stay in touch is to register on Amor Style Tarot. When you do, you get all the definitions and symbols of the cards for free. And if you like that, I even have the astrology reel. On the astrology reel, I'll run your planets for you, put them on the website so that you get content that is catered for you with regards to astrology. I also have some very low-cost ways of being able to support me in my work. One of them is to buy my book. I have A Loving Saint, Sai Baba, on Amazon. I am the illustrator of this particular book. And as you can see, it's fully illustrated and it's a short children's book. Or buy an astrology report from me. Send me an email. I sell in one package for a cheap price of $30, a Cosmo report of major life themes, the Edgar Cayce past life, and an Indra report. If you'd like to see how I interpret cards, I also sell tarot readings through my Amor Style Tarot website. If you like the tarot cards themselves, or the images on the card, I'm raising funds to take this deck to print. If you happen to live in the area, feel free to come to my Sunday yoga class at Zen Rock Fitness in Redmond. Or if you're in town and you just want to talk tarot, buy me a latte at Soul Food Coffee House. And finally, thank you for your support.